Hey everybody, this is the Wieser Podcast. Jim Wieser's been in and around the political game for several lifetimes, and he dispenses some of his wisdom as part of the Wieser Podcast, Wieser, and all you got to do is go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and listen to the Wieser Podcast. It's part of the WJOB Podcast Network, one of the original members, and many others have joined. So if you go to Apple, Spotify, wherever, and you just like our network as our channel, then you'll be able to get everybody's podcast, including the Wieser Podcast. As always, thank you to the person who manages the WJOB Podcast Network and is producing right now, Adriana Alvarez. And but mostly thanks to you, Wieser, for coming in and talking.
Oh, happy to do it, Jim. I really enjoy it.
I want to read a New York Times article I ran across that may have an effect specifically on what we do here in Northwest Indiana. Kansas redistricting was on the fast track. Then some Republicans said no. The state's Republicans wanted to join President Trump's push to redraw congressional maps, but plans for a special session fell apart when lawmakers resisted. The pushback on the plains leaves in place, at least for now, the one Democratic-leaning congressional district in Kansas. It comes as a small but rising number of lawmakers across the country, Republicans or Democrats, have balked at joining the drive to carve up congressional districts to boost their side's odds in midterm elections. And what one of the guys, state rep Brett Fairchild, said, he's a conservative Republican. I would rather stand on principle and stand on my morals and ethics, he said. He said he believed redistricting went against the intent of the country's founders and could backfire on his party in future elections. He said, that way I can actually look at myself in the mirror and sleep at night. It's not all just about getting reelected. Now, the reason that this is important, that I kind of pulled this out, there's several other articles about this, because it is almost exactly the same situation in Indiana, where it's all Republican districts. Well, I'll change it. I think there's two Democratic districts in Indiana. One is kind of written off. You're not really going to be able to draw a squiggly line to get rid of that one. Andre Carson in the middle of the state in Indianapolis. But they're coming after the district where we sit right now. It is held by was held by Pete Visclosky and now is held by Frank Mervan III. We have talked about it a little bit on other podcasts, but what has happened in Kansas is kind of a continuation of what Mitch Daniels was hoping would happen here, is that conservative Republicans would come to their senses and realize that this A could backfire and B was wrong. And Mitch Daniels here, conservative Republican, former governor. You've got plenty of conservative Republicans in Kansas saying the same thing. Do you think that will happen here?
No.
Why?
Several reasons. First of all, I did have hope on election night and right after election night, as I was listening to all the returns from the various areas of the country where there were elections. And when I heard about Kansas, I said, well, wait, that is really interesting, because if we could take some section of the country and kind of compare it to Indiana, Kansas isn't a bad comparison, given the proximity and being in the Midwest and, Republican. And it just seemed to me to make sense. So I started making some inquiries periodically and about, hey, look, this happened in Kansas. Could this backfire? I think Mitch Daniels and Representative Fairchild are dead on. I think it will backfire on their party. in 2026 if they do it. So I think Kansas made the right approach. But the inquiries I've made among the legislators I know on both sides of the aisle, although my Republican friends are far more cautious in their approach, indicates to me that even though significant folks in their party, leaders in their party, don't agree with it, think it's the wrong thing to do, agree that it can backfire on them, are still going to do it.
Why?
It's, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, I guess it's the Trump factor. You got to remember, don't forget that the vice president was here on several occasions twisting arms. The governor, although I'm not sure how close the governor is to a lot of the legislators in the party, is insistent upon it and says that is something that needs to be done, which is there's a fallacy, but let's just say that's what they're saying. I just think the political pressure on them will be too great because, as we all know, if you don't go along with the program, you get primaried. And that's a big concern. That's a big concern. They're running next year. The House of Representatives runs every 2 years. Some senators will be running. That's the issue, and they say, well, that's what the boss wants, and ultimately they're gonna, it's like taking the worst tasting medicine you could take. You don't want to take it. You shudder to take it. You don't like the after effects, but you take it. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what I think.
So let's go further into the Kansas situation because they were ahead of us a little bit here. One of the guys, Mr. Sanders, a state senator in a state, I don't know if it's House or Senate in Kansas, said that he was called by a White House staff member. They talked for about 30 minutes. The staff member was saying it was really important that we get this done out of the White House. Mr. Sanders, who described the call as cordial, explained his belief that drawing a new map would be politically risky. I just thought this would give Democrats a club to beat us over the head with if we went forward. Is there the possibility that some Democrats want them to do it because it's going to be so unpopular?
Yeah, there's always that possibility. I don't fall into that category, although I think we will take advantage of it if it happens. I don't fall into that category because of the underlying substantive act will have occurred, and a well-drawn, I shouldn't say a well-drawn congressional districts, which were well-drawn. I was there, Jim, in 21 as a county chairman. Now, I was engaged in the redrawing of commissioners and council districts. However, I was attuned to and talking to the Republican folks, to state representatives, state senators. I will tell you that they drew fair, reasonable, and conforming districts, taking into account community of interest, taking into account contiguity. They did an excellent job, and they came up with districts that we can all argue over one little thing or other, but in my opinion, having been involved in the process, those districts were given that point in time as fair as could possibly have been done. So if this comes back to bite them, that's fine. But we're stuck with the district. We're stuck with a bad district. We're stuck with a district that flies in the face of all that should be considered when you're considering redistricting as the statute outlines, and the concepts are in place to guide you to say, do these things, and you're getting good districts.
So
That's why I don't aspire to that or agree with that approach.
So I've looked at this from a number of different angles because it is almost a copycat of what's going on in Indiana here. Basically, they're going after one district there, and they're going after one district here. Okay, and here, so what happened was the Republicans that rose up against conservatives said, "No, we're not doing this. And, we don't really care if that's what Trump wants." And hell hath no fury. These guys all lost their committee assignments. They all lost their support from the party. You're cut off. You're extricated from it. And the Speaker of the House, or the Speaker of the House there, said any leader that is not working with the other leaders to make things happen doesn't deserve to be a chair anymore. And that's why I made all these moves. So let's just play the what if game. Look across the aisle. What if there's some good people up here in Republican seats, and you know them and I know them, and I literally looked at thinking of a couple of them. I can't believe they would vote for this. But what if they do rise up against and don't vote for this on the Republican side? Could we see a complete reshuffling of the power structure?
Of the power structure?
I mean, in other words, people that hold they hold, leadership positions. I mean, is it that important to the governor and to the president that this happen? That if some, in some remote districts, what if they rise? What if they rise up? What happens to the Republican Party at that point here in Indiana?
Well, then the Republican Party is going to take a hit. I think they're going to take a hit. Almost either way they go.
That's what I was going to say. You said you were going to take a hit if they did it. They'll take a hit if they don't do it.
Yeah, I fully understand.
That's what I'm pointing to.
I understand the position in which they've been placed. All for no legitimate political or governmental reason. No, there's no legitimate.
No, there's legitimate political reason. There's a definitely stated political reason is to keep a majority in Washington.
Yeah. And
governmental, yes, I'll give you that one. But there's a big, clear-cut political reason.
Well, it's clear-cut if that's the attitude that you want, if you want to take. I agree. If that's what you believe is that you have to have, and first of all, what that goes to is how weak their party has become in such a very short period of time. To have to say we will redistrict when it really isn't needed, when it was done well 3 years, it I think became effective in 2022. So 3 years ago, when it was done, in our case in Indiana, done effectively, that tells you how pathetically weak the leadership nationally of the Republican Party is, and that they have to stoop to this level to try to retain their majority.
All right, and now here's the quote that I lifted from the Kansas folks. This is from Mr. Hawkins, basically the head of the party. He said, "Democrats have been gerrymandering for years, and now folks want to clutch their pearls that Republicans are finally fighting back. That's rich. Democrats have been gerrymandering for years. Now you want to clutch your pearls?"
Well, I'll tell you what. Tell Mr. Hawkins to show all of us, when was the last time Democrats redistricted in a non-census year after the census data? When was the last time they did that? It's never been done in Indiana in my entire career. Ever done in Indiana. And I think I think that would hold true for a majority of the country. I can't say it with accuracy. I haven't looked into it, but I'll bet that's the case. That's just a talking point. Well, they did it, so we can do it. Well, Mr. Hawkins, you show me when they did it. No, that's simply not the case.
So let's talk a little specifics here locally. Obviously, on the Democratic side, first of all, we're obviously looking at, especially if they redraw this, really kind of only if they would redraw it, maybe. We're looking at national attention on just a few districts across America, and this would be one of them, the first district here in Northwest Indiana.
Correct.
I don't know, roughly 800,000 people. Okay, so who on the Republican side do you foresee going for that nomination?
Well, I know that there's, isn't she, I think a county commissioner from Valpo? Hasn't she already expressed her interest? From Porter County.
Yeah.
I don't know her. I think she's already formed a committee, as I understand it. So there's an individual that's expressed it. I would assume that the current county chairman here in Lake County and county councilman Randy Niemeyer, who ran last time, would believe or would think that, hey, I ran last time and I lost, but the deck wasn't stacked for me. now the deck is somewhat stacked for me, so I think I could see him certainly seriously exploring it. Whatever her
Jennifer Ruth
Green is coming back, but I don't think she's going to survive the serious ethics charges that she faces downstate when she was in the positions in the Braun administration for a very short period of time. I don't see that happening. She was a carpetbagger in the election 4 years ago. She's done nothing to establish her credibility in Northwest Indiana as caring about anything. So she may give it a shot. Those are three names that come to my mind. I haven't really given it a lot of thought as to would there be others that that might pop up or rise up in the party. I mean, there's some good Republican legislators, but I don't think the ones that I know they have no interest in that whatsoever.
All right. So have you seen? So your theory is that good men and women that may not even be for this would vote for it anyways.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say it goes through. Have you seen any possible drawings? What's this?
All just the one that's been floated around since day one. And
describe it.
Well, as I understand it, it would shrink in terms of Lake. It would keep Lake County, but it would shrink the Democratic areas of Porter County. It would take out Portage. It would take out Valpo. It would take out Chesterton, which has started to lean in that direction.
So Valparaiso, if you happen to be listening in some other area, Valparaiso has gone decidedly Democrat.
Yes.
of which is very surprising in the last few years.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want that in there because that could actually Valpo could be the tipping point city right now. Right. So you would carve it out and you would take Valpo to basically the South Bend district, right?
Right. Somehow, some way they could figure that.
Perhaps Michigan City too.
And Michigan City too, which would be a huge factor because that's clearly a very solid Democratic area with an outstanding mayor, city council they've got all the infrastructure in place to do well for the Democrats, and then they'll extend the district farther south and bring in counties. Again, these are counties that are south of Lake County for those that are listening or that aren't local. Perhaps some combination of Newton and Jasper and Benton and White, and I'm trying to think as they go east, maybe one or two others.
Maybe even a little Newton County or
Newton County, and because those are areas that are different, are entirely different than what we have here. We're very industrial based. They're very agricultural based. Different philosophies, different issues that are paramount. So, given all that, that's what I think would occur, and that's my whole point. Okay, that's why I don't buy into this. Oh well, we could take advantage of this, and I agree that we could take advantage of it, but at what cost? At the cost of having a horrible district, a terribly created district that doesn't accurately reflect the community of interest that we should be looking at when we're redistricting.
So, there's a lot going on, and we're going to just concentrate here on redistricting. But ultimately, you basically have a White House that it started in Texas, and they basically are redrawing it so that they could gain possibly 5 Republican seats.
Yeah, right.
But since then, California has passed Proposition 50, where they could redraw it and possibly basically negate all of that easily, and get 5 or even more possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually could get more. And then you have legislatures all over America looking at this. Kansas and Indiana are getting a lot of attention.
Yeah,
right
they
now,
are.
And they're getting the most attention on the Republican side. But there are a bunch of other states, both on the blue side and on the red side. What do you foresee happening here?
Well, I think it's definitely going to be a battle of who can be more successful. One, who could be more successful in their redistricting efforts. There's no question about that. But one thing I don't want to say this has been overlooked. It hasn't been overlooked. But one thing, people are more the voters are more sophisticated now and more attuned to what this all means. 10 years ago, redistricting, they go, okay, yeah, redistricting, but people are focused on this, and they're beginning to understand this issue, and as a result, I think at the however this works out, I think the 2026 midterm has the potential to be an overwhelmingly successful one for the Democratic Party, for the Democrats in the country. It has that potential. A lot of things, we all know how things shift and how things change, but it has that potential because people are just are about had it with just force feeding you as to how you're going to do. We're not going to let you, by the way, folks, we're taking away your right to elect who you want to elect as your congressperson. We're going to decide that for you. People are pissed about that. They don't like that. They resent it. And I don't think, I'm not a believer in saying, oh, look at these elections that happen. Wow, the Democrats are going to just walk away with it because they won the governorship in New Jersey and they won it in Virginia and they won the Virginia House and they won and what they did in Kansas and things that have happened throughout the country. Yeah, I agree. That bodes well, but that is no specific indication of what's going to happen next year. It just isn't. So we have to be careful about it, but at the same time, I think it's a losing issue for the Republicans. I think it's a loser, and because they're forcing people forcing people against their will, people in their party, to take this action now, and they're not allowing the voters to appropriately select their own representatives. They're doing it for them, and people are very upset about that.
He's Jim Wieser. He's been a Democrat and several elected positions, and of course the chairman of the Lake County Democratic Party for a long time. That's us talking about redistricting here in the middle of November of 2025. Thanks a lot to Adriana Alvarez. Thanks a lot to you, Jim.
Welcome.
And
glad to do it.
But most of all, thanks to you for listening and watching. Until next time, see you later.